Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
Begin the English language transmission from Pyongyang, the capital of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
We now present a mixed colors, Song of General Kim Il-sung. News Mail covers Song General Kim Jong-Il. Respected Marshal Kim Jong-un appreciated the finals of men's football of the Mangyongdae Pro Sports Games and met the sportspersons who won gold medals in the recent international games. The finals between the Reminiscences team and the Annapurna team of the premier men's football of the games were held at the Kim Il-sung Stadium on April the 29th. The moment respected Marshal Kim Jong-un traveled with Ri Sol-ju came out to the grandstand. The spectators raised stormy cheers of hurrah, representing their infinite reverence for him. Also watching the game were Chair Jong-Il, Chang Song-taek, and other senior officials of the party and army, members of the State Fiscal Council and Sports Guidance Commission, officials of the party and armed forces institutions, ministries, national agencies, and sports institutions, sportspersons, amateurs, and working people of different sections in Pyongyang. The footballers of the Reminiscences team ran 2 goals in the first half with a smart heading and strong kick. In the second half, the footballers of the Annapurna team made golden opportunities with a high-level ball handling and active attack, making good use of their merits. In the end, the Reminiscences team defeated the Annapurna team 2-1. The spectators enthusiastically encouraged the footballers of the 2 teams with warm applause, who applied our tactics of games and displayed collectivist spirit and noble virtues in the game. After the game was over, those present raised enthusiastic cheers again, and Marshal Kim Jong-un warmly waved his hand to them. He expressed great satisfaction over the high-level game of the footballers of the 2 teams and congratulated them on their success in the game. That day, Marshal Kim Jong-un met sportspersons who won gold medals in the recent international games, Coach Kim Il-sung, and leading sports officials. Present there were Park Bong-ju, Chair Jong-Il, and the senior officials of the party, state and army, and members of the State Fiscal Council and Sports Guidance Commission. Respected Marshal Kim Jong-un shook hands with each of the excited medalists, coach and leading sports officials, and highly praised them for having proved successful in the recent international games and given conviction of victory and optimism to our armed people who are energetically promoting the building of a prosperous socialist nation despite the vicious sanctions and pressure of the enemy. Marshal Kim Jong-un expressed the belief that the sportspersons and coaches would shed more sweat in training and thus consolidate the recently achieved successes and in the future more powerfully demonstrate the honor of the country with gold medals in the international games. Respected Marshal Kim Jong-un, First Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea, First Chairman of the National Defense Commission of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and Supreme Commander of the Korean People's Army, together with Lee Sol-ju, looked around the Yanggakdo football stadium. He was accompanied by Chair Jong-Il and the senior officials of the party and army and officials of institutions concerned. The 30,000-plus seat Yanggakdo football stadium was built in good harmony with the beautiful scenery of Yanggak Island in May 1989 under the wise guidance of the fatherly Kim Jong-il. Marshal Kim Jong-un came out to the Yanggakdo football stadium with a plan to renovate the stadium, warmly associated with the emerging leadership exploits of the great leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, in keeping with the demand of the new century, and dropped in at the rear dedicated to the history of the stadium. He impressively recalled the immortal exploits performed by President Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il for the strengthening and development of Juche-based physical culture and sports, saying they had participated in the inaugural ceremony of the stadium. Going around different places of the stadium, Marshal Kim Jong-un indicated specific tasks and ways to reconstruct it. Given specific orientation and ways to rebuild the stadium anew, he organized a powerful building force to facilitate the stadium at an early date. He said developing physical culture and sports is an important work to strengthen the national power in every way, demonstrate the indomitable spirit and dignity of Sangam Korea all over the world, and encourage the armed people to forcefully promote the building of a prosperous socialist nation with great national pride and honor. He expressed the belief that the institutions concerned would wonderfully rebuild the Yanggakdo football stadium into a perfect exclusive football stadium. Respected Kim Jong-un was awarded the medal of the 15th anniversary of the All-Russian War Veterans Society Military Township. Ceremony of awarding the medal and its certificate took place at the Gaban Hotel in Vladivostok City on April the 23rd. Present there were officials of different sections of the Maritime Territory and Narcotica City, and the Consul General and staff members of the DPRK Consulate General in the city. A floral basket and bouquets were placed before the table to honor the revolutionary activities of the great leader Kim Jong-il at the hotel. The chairman of the Maritime Territorial branch of the society handed the medal and its certificate to the DPRK Consul General with a request to convey them to respected Marshal Kim Jong-il. The Chinese newspapers in Global Times, the Russian Editorials, newspaper Rossiyskaya Gazeta, and radio Mayak, the Voice of Russia, and the Japanese Kyoto News and Tokyo Shimbun on the 28th reported the news that respected Marshal Kim Jong-un looked around the head of Mercedes complex before its inauguration. Meetings took place in Romania, Russia, and Bulgaria on the occasion of the Day of the Sun, the 5th anniversary of President Kim Il-sung. Present there were passengers and other people in those countries. Speakers at the meetings praised the sacred revolutionary life of the great leader Kim Il-sung and said his immortal exploits for the Korean people and the wider progress of humankind will shine in history forever. They noted that respected Kim Jong-un as standing at the head of the Korean people and stressed that under his wise guidance, the Korean people will smash the anti-DPRK moves of the imperialists and win the final victory. Russian internet homepages feature the Day of the Sun. The internet homepage of the Russian Group for Solidarity with the DPRK posted an article praising the immortal achievements of the great leader President Kim Il-sung and the immortal revolutionary poem Song of General Kim Il-sung, along with his portrait and pictures of his revolutionary activities. The Russian internet magazine Editorial spoke highly of the revolutionary life of President Kim Il-sung, along with his smiling portrait and 70+ pictures. Other internet magazines, Reminiscences and March 12, also posted articles highly praising his undying feats, along with the photographs of his revolutionary activities. A high-existing group of Koreans in Japan headed by Lee Chung-ja visited the bronze statues of the great leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-Il on Mount Hill, laid bouquets and made a bow to them on the 29th. They arrived in Pyongyang by air on the same day. DPRK Premier Park Bong-gil learned on the spot about the current production of the Suncheon area youth coal mining complex. After getting familiar with the mining conditions and production of the February 8th Chikdong youth coal mine, he learned in detail about coal deposits and output of the coal mines under the complex. A consultative meeting of officials of the complex was held on the spot to further increase coal production. Premier Park also looked around different production processes of the Suncheon chemical complex and discussed ways to combine production with the technology. The Central Committee of the Korean Socialist Youth League decided to call the 7th meeting of the Korean Children's Union early in June in order to prepare the union members as reliable pillars for building a thriving nation. The meeting will discuss the tasks of the Korean Children's Union to faithfully support the idea and leadership of respected Marshal Kim Jong-un in conformity with the demand of new historical time in accomplishing the revolutionary cause of the future. The 66th plenary meeting of the Central Committee of the Union of Agricultural Workers of Korea was held in Pyongyang on the 29th. Present at the meeting were members and alternate members of the Central Committee of the Union. The meeting discussed the tasks of the union organizations to resolutely implement the line on building the economy and nuclear force simultaneously, presented by respected Marshal Kim Jong-un at the historic March 2013 plenary meeting of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. A report and speeches were made, and the decision was adopted at the meeting. The 64th plenary meeting of the Central Committee of the Democratic Women's Union of Korea was held in Pyongyang on the 29th. Present at the meeting were members and alternate members of the Central Committee and the union officials. The meeting discussed the tasks of the women's union organizations to resolutely carry through the line on building the economy and nuclear force simultaneously, advanced by respected Marshal Kim Jong-un at the historic March 2013 plenary meeting of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. The report and speeches were made, and the decision was adopted at the meeting. A national scientific and technological presentation on land and environment protection was given at the Grand People's Study House in Pyongyang on Monday, on the occasion of the 5th anniversary of respected Kim Jong-un's famous work on bringing about a revolutionary turn in land administration in line with the demands for building a thriving socialist nation. Present there were officials concerned, scientists, technicians, and teachers of the institutions concerned with land administration and environment protection. Speaker at the presentation said last year Marshal Kim Jong-un had a meeting of the activists of the movement of general mobilization for land administration held and made public a famous work in which he presented the clear tasks and ways for land and environment protection. He called on all the scientists and technicians to satisfactorily solve the scientific and technological issues arising in land and environment protection, true to the noble intention of respected Marshal Kim Jong-un, and thus make a contribution to the building of a highly civilized socialist nation. Tons of papers were presented of more than 300 which solved scientific and technological issues, including land protection, afforestation, and road and river construction on a scientific and modern basis, and preventing air and water pollution in line with the demands for building a prosperous nation. Prizes were awarded to the presenters of excellent papers. Jong-Il, a student from the DKLK, took the first place at the International Vocal and Instrumental Concours Festival Stars of the Large City, held in Moscow, the capital of Russia, between April the 18th and 21st. Present there were more than 180 vocalists and instrumentalists from the DKLK, Russia, China, Greece, Kazakhstan, Turkey, Belarus, Georgia, and other countries. The Instrumental Concours Festival was held in the way of deciding the rank according to the skills of the participants, including violin, piano, violin, cello, and accordion players. Jong-Il, starting at the National Musical Academy of Russia, wonderfully performed the violin pieces and others and came first. Another Korean student in Russia, So-Young, also played the violin and finished second. Successes are registered in afforestation in most of the provinces of Korea. During the general mobilization for spring land administration, the province planted more than 70,327,000 trees and ground covers in over 290 hectares. Yongtan County, Hwangju County, Songnam City, Rinsan County, and other cities and counties issued a load of saplings of strobus pine, Changsong larch, and acacia trees, and planted many trees of good species. Meanwhile, the cities and counties are planting new varieties of lawn in a prospective way. The People's Action for Peace Against War, consisting of more than 40 organizations of South Korea, including the Confederation of Trade Unions, the Council for Measures on the Volunteer Corps Program, the Solidarity for Progress, and the Women's Solidarity, held a press conference before the command of the U.S. forces in South Korea in Seoul on the 25th, and denounced the U.S. imperialists and the South Korean warmongers for their frantic North-targeted joint landing exercise. Viktor Petrov, chairman of the Russian Association for Friendship and Cultural Cooperation with the DPRK, made a public press statement on the 21st in support of the statement of the Policy Department of the National Defense Commission of the DPRK. And that's the end of the news read by Kim Hyun-ok. This is Voice of Korea. The Daily Rodong Shimun of the DPRK carried a commentary on Tuesday under the title Military Adventure to Provoke a Nuclear War. The commentary said, some time ago, the United States sent 7 nuclear-powered submarines to the Guam Island, a strategic base of the U.S. forces on the West Pacific, and soon brought latest vertical takeoff and landing transport plane, Osprey, to South Korea for the Full Eagle joint military exercises. It is unprecedented that 7 nuclear-powered submarines gathered in the Guam Island, and it is also for the first time that Osprey flew into South Korea. While talking about dialogue and negotiations, the United States is frantically conducting war exercises and deploying nuclear strikers. It has disclosed a two-faced trick of the United States. The U.S. rulers' loud talk about dialogue and negotiations is aimed at accelerating preparations for a nuclear war, while shooting down the will of confrontation with the United States and eliteness of the DPRK, resisting their adventurous nuclear maneuvers with a strong stand. The U.S. latest provocations fuel our strong political and military countermeasures. All our nuclear striking force is ready to strike the major bases in the U.S. mainland and all the U.S. military bases in the operational theater of the Pacific. The U.S. rulers must abandon their anachronistic and absurd way of thinking that their country is a nuclear superpower and accordingly can control us as they please. That was the commentary under the title Military Adventure to Provoke a Nuclear War, carried in the Daily Rodong Shimun of the DPRK on Tuesday. This is Voice of Korea. Please enjoy your meal, Carlos. We will defend General Kim Jong-un at the cost of our lives. Here is a piano concerto, Snowstorm over Mount Ector. conflict against DPRK. On April 21st, Jong-Il, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the South Korean Army, discussed with Dempsey, chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, on a visit to South Korea, on strengthening joint countermeasures to curb provocation and threat from the North. It is very ill-boding that Dempsey and Jong-Il, military chief executives of the United States and South Korea, held a secret discussion 3 days after a meeting of the U.S.-South Korea Military Committee on April the 18th. At the meeting, Dempsey said they would defend South Korea with the mobilization of all military power, including nuclear umbrella and missile defense capabilities, under the pretext of provocation from the North. Jong-Il chimed in with him, saying they would increase so-called counteraction capability through military cooperation with the United States. As was exposed, the United States and the South Korean puppets began to talk about dialogue with the North on the occasion of the South Korean visit of the U.S. Secretary of State Kerry on April the 12th. But the United States presented denuclearization as a precondition for dialogue, and the South Korean puppets too made a row repeating it. It was a cunning trick to shift the responsibility for the explosive wartime state created on the Korean Peninsula onto the DPRK, and furthermore to disarm us under the pretext of dialogue. The DPRK made clear that the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula is closely related to that of the world, and demanded the South Korean puppets and the United States cancel their hostile policy and make an apology for the hostilities they have so far done against us if they truly want dialogue. But the South Korean puppets and the United States slandered the just demand of the DPRK and more frantically conducted the full eagle nuclear war exercises against the North. It is the United States and the South Korean puppets that created such a super tension on the Korean Peninsula as today. It is also the United States, the South Korean puppets, and other hostile forces that fabricated the UN resolution on sanctions against the DPRK under the pretext of its legitimate and peaceful satellite launch, and another resolution on sanctions questioning the self-defense for nuclear tests to cope with it. It is also the United States and the South Korean puppets that have frantically conducted the Full Eagle exercises for 2 months. After all, the joint countermeasures talked about by Dempsey and Jong-Il mean upturned war moves against the North. Their secret discussion was a dangerous war conflict aimed at branding the DPRK as provoker and triggering off a nuclear war on it. In the end, it was made clearer that the dialogue with the North presented by the United States and the South Korean puppets is nothing but a deceptive trick to mislead the public opinion, and they intend to provoke a nuclear war on the North. Facts prove that any words do not work on the United States and the South Korean puppets attempting to overthrow the system of the DPRK while refusing coexistence with us, and wished to mercilessly punish those warmongers trying to ignite a war on the North. The United States and the South Korean war hawks should not act rashly, bearing in mind that they will get nothing but death and ruin from the provocation of a nuclear war on the North. You've been listening to an account entitled Dangerous War Conflict Against DPRK. This is Voice of Korea. Minor prisoner made colors. Our rifles will not forgive them. you enjoy an orchestral music, the road of victory.
Dear listeners, with this we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Southeast Asia between 5 and 6 hours UTC on 13,650 kHz and 15,105 kHz, and between 10 and 11 hours UTC on 11,735 kHz and 13,650 kHz. For Middle East and North Africa, between 16 and 17 hours UTC on 9,890 kHz and 11,645 kHz, and between 19 and 20 hours UTC on 9,875 kHz and 11,635 kHz. For Southern Africa, between 19 and 20 hours UTC on 7,210 kHz and 11,910 kHz. And for Central and South Americas, between 4 and 5 hours UTC on 11,735 kHz, 13,760 kHz, and 15,180 kHz, and between 10 and 11 hours UTC on 11,710 kHz and 15,180 kHz. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.